Hello everybody, and welcome to the Games I Love. Now, when I'm looking to purchase a board game, there are two certain types of criteria that can sort of determine whether I want to purchase it or not. The first one is whether it looks bright and vibrant, and it pops out on the table and makes you go, wow, that looks interesting, I want to buy that. Or if it looks like it has an interesting mechanism that's not really been used before and makes it sort of different and unique to other board games that you might purchase. Well, the latter is definitely the case with the game I'm going to be showing you today, which is Touria. Touria is a competitive game where you are playing as the same group of adventurers, going out, completing quests, gaining resources in order to gain a certain amount of coins and hearts in order to then win over the heart of the prince or the princess that is in the middle of the castle in the kingdom of Touria. Now, that does sound all very generic fantasy-esque style, and to be fair, it pretty much is. But the main draw for this was the mechanism of rotating towers in the corners of the board that will determine what actions you can do on your turn and will affect other players as well. Colour me interested? Well, let me get it down to the table, I'll show you how it all works out, and then we'll come back up and I'll tell you why I love playing Touria. So here we have Touria set up, ready to go. I've only set up my player's screen, but obviously every player will have their screen as well around the board. Every player starts off with their chosen coloured crest, an elixir and 3 coins. And every player will have that. Now, the goal of the game is to collect 7 coins, 7 hearts, and have no black gems at the end of the game. Once you do that, you go back to the middle of the castle in order to try and win the prince or princess's heart, but I'll get onto that later on. The stack of hearts, swords, and coins are set to the side, along with the gem bag. The towers are placed out in the exact same configuration every time, on the 4 corners of the board here. The die for the goldsmith is randomly rolled and placed there, and in every gem space, 2 gems are placed out as shown here. Now, the only stipulation is you cannot have 2 black gems on a gem space. Black gems are bad, you don't want to have them at all, and so that's why there's never any 2 black gems on the space. On a player's turn, because everyone is playing as the same group of adventurers here, let me show you there. So we're all playing as this token, and it is placed in the middle of the board here. This is where it starts off. The first player is randomly designated, and then after that, every other player gets a little benefit of their choice. They can either choose a gem of their preferred colour from the gem bag, but not purple or black, an extra coin, or a sword. But all 3 of these have their own benefits, so it's up to the player what they want to do and which one they want to choose with. So, once that's done, the first player goes. Now, on a player's turn, so if I am sitting here, you always have 4 actions available to you, and it's designated by the 4 different towers that are facing you. So the characters that are facing towards me are going to be the 4 actions and the 4 spaces that I'm going to be able to go to on my turn. So in this instance, I can go to the Fairy of the Well, the Fairy of the Forest, the Dragon, or the Goldsmith. Now, on your turn, you can move as many spaces as you want on this board, and you can move in any direction at all in order to get to the space that you want to go to. You can move up to 3 spaces for free, but after that, every additional space is going to cost you a coin, so just bear that in mind. So, for example, if I want to go to, I don't know, let's say I want to go to the Fairy of the Forest over here, which is this little lass here. Once you've decided which space you want to go to, you choose that particular space on the tower and rotate it 90 degrees. So, when it comes to my next turn, I'm going to have a different action space that I can go to on this tower, but it also affects every other player around the table. So, for example, the player sitting to my right would have been able to go to the dragon on their turn, but if I turn it 90 degrees, they can now go to the Fairy of the Forest instead. So say I do this, so I go to the Fairy of the Forest, rotate it 90 degrees, and as I've said, I can move any which way I want to in order to get to the Fairy of the Forest, but I just want to take the most direct route there, because it basically 3 spaces are free. If you go through a gem space, for example here, you choose which colour gem you want, take it, and put it behind your screen, shown here. Now, if I was to go to this one here, you'll notice there's a black gem there. If that is the case, you have to take both the coloured gem and the black gem and put them behind your screen, which is not good. You don't want to have any black gems behind your shield because then you can't win the game. But say I do this, so I go here, I pick the green gem, put it by my screen, go to the Fairy of the Forest. And then you can do that particular action. Now, on another player's turn, they start from the space that the previous player ended on. So the next player would start here, go and which way. Now, what do all these spaces do? Why are you going here? Well, they just help you in gaining different resources in order to complete the game. The swordsmith over here simply gives you 2 swords. Now, swords are used in a variety of different ways, and I will go over them once I've gone over all the other action spaces. If you go over to the Fairy of the Well, she allows you to get rid of a black gem permanently from the game. So that's a very good way of actually getting rid of black gems that you might have behind your shield. The thief over here allows you to delve into the gem bag here, draw out 3 gems, and then choose which one you want to keep. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Oh, wow, purple gem. That's cool. I'll put that behind my screen. I'll get onto purple gems in a second, but they are very, very good. So, that's the thief. The trader over here, if you have the required amount of gems on these 3 different contracts, you can complete them in order to gain coins. So, example here, if I pay a blue gem, I get 2 coins. If I have a red and a green, I get 4. And if I have a yellow, blue and green, I will get 6 coins for that. Once a contract has been completed, that's obviously discarded, and the top one is then turned over, and you can see that it's a different requirement this time. So the next player will need a yellow gem in order to complete the easy contract. The Fairy of the Forest has special abilities that you can do, and you can choose one of 2 that are always available to you. So for example, on this one you've got this is a very good one. This one allows you to peek behind 2 doors in the castle. Now, bearing in mind the prince or princess is hidden behind one of these 9 doors, so it gives that player a big advantage in the game. But these are one-time use abilities, so once you've used it, it's going to be discarded and you can't use it again. If someone does select one, then the top one from this massive stack of magical items is then replenished. So this is the magical frog. It basically acts as a free Fairy of the Well, so you can instantly get rid of a black gem from the game. Again, very powerful, but a one-time use ability. So it's up to you if you want to use them or not. But why wouldn't you? Well, I'll get onto that in a second. Now, the coinsmith and the dragon have a sort of a synergy between them because they use the same die. If you go to the dragon, you take this die here and you roll it. There we go. Whatever it lands on, if you have that particular coloured gem, you can trade it in and you gain a heart. This is one of the main ways that you can get the 7 hearts in the game. And if you don't have that particular coloured gem, you can use a sword instead. You can cash in a sword in order to re-roll the die. So I can then re-roll a red. That's cool. I have a red. I'll get a sword. I'll get a heart. And you can do this as many times as you want for however many swords you have. Once the action has been done, this die is then replaced and put back on the coinsmith. Now the coinsmith is another way that you can get hearts. So you can see here, if you trade in any colour gem, you get a coin. If you trade in 2 gems of the same colour, you gain a heart. If you trade in 3 gems of the same colour, you gain 2 hearts. However, if you trade in 3 gems of the same colour that matches the die, you get an additional heart as well. And this can be for any colour gem as well, including purple, but if you were to land on the black, that's negated. You can't trade in black gems in order to gain hearts, because, well, I suppose you have a black heart or something, so you don't want to roll the black gem on here. However, if you do roll a black on the dragon, you can then trade in a black gem for a heart. But the difference between this and the Fairy of the Well is that the black gem goes back into the gem bag rather than out of the game. And the final space is technically not on the board. It is the Wizard's Observatory here. Basically, if you use the Wizard's Observatory, you pay a coin and it allows you to do one of two things. You can either teleport immediately to any space on the board and complete that action, and it's the only way that you can get to the Wizard's Jousting Tournament down here. Now, once you choose this and you've paid a coin, you then also have to pay a sword, and you can either use that to trade it for a heart or 3 coins. Very powerful to do, but you do have to pay a coin in order to do so. So that's all the spaces of the board. Now, once someone has reached 7 coins, 7 hearts, and have no black gems behind their board, they will reveal what they have. Obviously, I don't have it, but you would trade in your 7 coins and 7 hearts, put your crest by the chapel over here to signify that you're going to the castle, and then you will turn over one of these 9 doors. Now, the Prince and Princess are behind one of these doors, but every other door has a requirement for it. So let me randomly choose this one. So, a green gem. If I have a green gem, I can trade it in and turn over another door. So, for example, I could trade this one here. A coin. Great, I have a coin. I can trade, and you keep on doing this. If you do not have the required item, then your turn is over and it goes over to the another player. But you keep on doing this until someone does eventually find the prince or princess. Ta-da! There they are. As soon as someone does that, the game is over and that person wins the game. Now, as you can see, there are every sort of requirement that you can think of for the game. You've got magical items, hence why you might want to keep a hold of one of them, swords, all different coloured gems, and elixirs. Now, these are the last 2 things that I've not gone over for the game. Elixirs and purple gems are sort of the same, but different. On your turn, you can trade in a purple gem to repeat that action. So, if I was at the swordsmith, I could trade in a purple gem and gain 4 swords instead of 2. The elixir is sort of the same, but you use it on another player's turn. So, if another player went to the swordsmith, I could give him or her my elixir, and I would then be able to take 2 swords as well. And every other player can do that as well. Now, bearing in mind, in a 4-player game, if that does happen, one player is going to have 4 elixirs, so they're going to be very powerful for quite a while. That is the game. You carry on doing this until you've got the required amounts of coins and hearts, and then whoever gets to the prince or princess first is the winner of the game. Now, you can do a shorter game, in that you only need to get 5 coins and 5 hearts, but I find that the 7 coins and 7 hearts is just the right amount, but it is there if you do want it. So, that is Touria. Let me get back up top and tell you why I love playing this game. So there we have it, that is Touria. Now, I'll go out and say it right now, Touria is one of my favourite board games that I own. I love playing this every time I get it to the table, and every person that I've played with it as well has loved it too. Just the mechanism of the rotating towers that determines what actions you can do on your turn is such an interesting mechanism, and I've not really seen it done that much in any other board game before. Not only that, but the game looks really cool on the board as well, you know, with the 3D towers in the corners. It just looks bright, it looks vibrant. Some people might not like the art style of this game because it sort of has a traditional sort of art style to it, but I don't know, it has a certain amount of charm to it. When you actually look at the actual game board, there are some little intricacies that have been put into the board that weren't necessary at all, but just gives it a little bit of character. Like at one part you can see a little yeti just chilling out in the mountains. There's the sword in the stone somewhere. In fact, I think there's 2 swords in the stones. So it just looks visually appealing, And the game itself flows really well too. Turns are very quick. There is a slight bit of thinking behind it in that you can look and see what other players might be able to do on their turns, and you can also sort of gauge, okay, well, I want to go to the swordsmith that turn, but I can't this time, but if he uses that, I might be able to then. If not, you can use your swords to rotate a tower, and, you know, that might give you the ability to go to that particular space on that particular board as well. Now, having said that, as with every board game, there are a couple of gripes with this. The first one, which is very minor, is the insert for this game is absolute garbage. Get rid of it straight away, because you have to, if you still keep the insert, you have to disassemble the towers every time you want to set up and disassemble the game, which is a bit of a bugbear. But if you get rid of the insert, everything fits nicely inside this box and you have no worries with that. The other minor gripe that I have is sort of the end of the game, and I can see this being a bit of, being a bit of a drawback for some people, in that the end of the game is very anticlimactic, really. You've done all this adventuring, you've done all this resource collecting, and then the end of the game is literally random luck. You could be the first person there and uncover 7 of the 9 doors and not find the prince or princess. Then another player can instantly come up behind you, turn it over, and they win instantly. Now, I can see how that can put off some people, but to be fair, every time that I've played it with my group of board gaming people, it's not really been an issue. But I can see that being a bit of a letdown for some people, in that it's very random and very anticlimactic for the whole thing. Now, you can sort of house rule in that if someone, as soon as someone gets 7 coins and 7 hearts, they win the game. I personally have never played it like that, but, you know, it sort of is there if you do want it. Overall, though, as I've already said, Touria is one of my favourite games to play. It says game time an hour. I would say that's about right. It's a fairly fast-flowing game, as I've already said as well. And it just complements it. Everything complements each other really well, and it's just gone down a storm every time I've got it to the table. So there we go. That is Touria. Obviously, if you do like the looks of it, maybe it'll be your new favourite game purchase. You never know. But for now, that's another episode of The Games I Love. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back at another point with another game that I certainly do love playing. Until then, have a good day, and I'll see you soon.